November is here in the Yorba Linda housing market, which means some big changes are ahead. So what are those changes and how will they impact both buyers and sellers from now through the rest of the year? That's exactly what we're going to talk about on today's episode. If you've never watched this show before, hi, I'm Josh Alexander, your local Yorba Linda real estate agent, as well as host of Discover Yorba Linda, your one-stop shop for all things Yorba Linda. So if you currently live in this city or you're thinking of moving here and just want to get some more information about it, make sure you hit that subscribe and follow button because I put out new content every single week to help you better get to know this community. So on today's episode, I'm going to be going over my monthly housing market update for November in Yorba Linda, and some of the information I'm going to give you might surprise you. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a home anytime soon, you're not going to want to miss this episode. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's quickly recap what happened in the month of October so we can better understand what to expect for the rest of this year throughout Yorba Linda. So for the month of October, there was 41 homes sold within Yorba Linda, which was down from 50 from the month before, and then the month before that was 79. So we're seeing less and less transactions happen every single month, and a lot of that has to do with the interest rates that have been slowly going up over the last 2 months, making it harder and harder for a lot of buyers to be able to purchase a home. However, just because we're seeing less transactions in Yorba Linda doesn't mean that the housing market is slowing down in Yorba Linda. In fact, it's actually the opposite. So over the last month, 66% of all homes sold in Yorba Linda sold for at or above asking price. Now, if you look at the month prior to that, it was at 62%. So we actually saw more homes sell for at or above asking price in October than we did for September. So the housing market, in fact, is actually getting a little bit hotter in Yorba Linda right now. Compare that to the rest of Orange County, where we're seeing the trends of slowly cooling down. Yorba Linda is in a much better position than a lot of the rest of Orange County. Now, if you look at the speed of the market in October in terms of how fast homes are going into escrow in Yorba Linda, that actually didn't change much from the month of September. So 63% of all homes in Yorba Linda went into escrow in less than 2 weeks, and about 83% of them went into escrow in less than a month. So in the month of September, it was 82% went in less than a month. This last month, it was 83%. Really not a noticeable difference, but it is much faster than the rest of Orange County. Again, showing that the housing market in Yorba Linda is still a lot hotter than the rest of Orange County. Now, the market in Yorba Linda being this hot might surprise a lot of people because over the month of October, we saw interest rates continue to go up. In fact, for a handful of days, we saw interest rates averaging over 8%. However, there is a chance that we did see the highest interest rates that we're going to see all year, and they're going to start slowly coming down for the rest of the year. So the combination of news coming out this week with a lot of reports showing that the economy in the United States is slowing down, as well as the Fed's announcement that they're putting a pause on rate hikes right now, has led to interest rates slowly falling this week. So they started at almost 8%, and now they're down to 7.5%, which is the lowest they've been since September. So when interest rates go down, demand starts picking back up again, so I wouldn't be surprised to see over the next couple weeks, as long as rates stay around where they are right now, demand, even though typically it's dropping this time of year, it's probably not going to drop as quickly as it has been over the last couple weeks. So what else can we expect in the housing market in the month of November, December? Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. During the month of November, we typically see one of, if not the biggest change in the housing market on both the supply and the demand side. And really the biggest reason has to do with the holiday season. So you can check out this graph right up here, and you can see even though we've had some crazy markets over the last couple years, once we hit towards the end of November, you can see that inventory starts taking a significant decline and continues going down for the remainder of the year. Now there's a lot of reasons for this, but the main one is that sellers just don't want to have to sell their home while they're trying to entertain guests during the holiday season, because we all know it's hard enough to get your house cleaned up for that one guest event that you're going to have. Trying to keep it clean throughout the entire holiday season when you're doing showings and open houses can be nearly impossible for a lot of people, especially if you have kids. So sellers that currently have their house in the market tend to throw in the towel about a week before Thanksgiving hits, and that's when you start seeing inventory decline, and they're going to wait until next year to put it back on the market. And for those that are thinking of selling, typically, unless they absolutely have to sell, again, they're going to be waiting until sometime next year to get their home on the market, which is why inventory drops and you just don't see a lot of new homes coming on the market during the month of November as well as December. In fact, those are the two lowest months in terms of new inventory hitting the market that we see all year long. So on the demand side of things, we also see a pretty significant drop off as we hit Thanksgiving going through the rest of the year. And it's the same reason, is buyers don't want to be going out, going through open houses while they're going through holiday parties, entertaining guests. It's just one more thing they don't want to add to their plate during the holidays. So they typically throw in the towel and say, well, look next year when everything calms down, the family has gone home from visiting, and we can actually pay attention and put all of our effort into it again. Okay, so all this information is great, but what does this actually mean for people that are still thinking of either buying or selling a house before the end of the year? Let's go ahead and start with buyers first. Okay, so buyers, we're down to the last couple weeks before you start seeing inventory disappear pretty significantly. So if you're looking for choices in the marketplace, you really only have a few weeks left. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be a cash buyer, or you have the down payment saved up and you can afford the mortgage payment on these higher rates and higher home prices, then right now is a good time to look, especially before Thanksgiving, because there are a lot of sellers, like I said earlier, that are getting ready to throw in the towel for the end of the year. So you might be able to swoop in, put an offer in that might be below market value at this point, and the seller might say, okay, well, I just want to get this home sold. I'm about to take it off the market anyway. Maybe I'll take a slightly lower price right now just to get it off the books and not have to deal with it anymore. So over the last month, every buyer that I've helped, I've been able to get into escrow below asking price. So if you're looking for a good deal in the market, you probably have a few weeks left where you still have a lot of options to choose from before those options start getting much more limited as we head into December. Now, the last advice I have for buyers right now is if you are one of those buyers that affordability is a big issue right now because interest rates are so high, I just want to let you know that there are different loan programs out there that might be able to help with that. So right now, one of the most popular ones is called a 2-1 buy down. And what it basically does is it takes your interest rate and it drops it by 2% for the first year, by 1% for the second year, and then it goes to its normal rate for the third year all the way to 30 years. Now, the reason this is so beneficial to a lot of buyers is this is something that the seller is going to pay for. So it's something you put in the contract, you ask the seller to buy down your rate, and it's going to give you a lower mortgage payment. So if you get approved for a 7.5% interest rate, that first year you're only paying 5.5% interest rate, second year 6.5% interest rate, and then it goes to the normal rate of 7.5 for the remainder of the loan term. So the reason why these programs are popular right now is because the thinking is over the next 2 years, interest rates should start dropping, and that's going to allow you to refinance your loan into a lower rate more permanently. But until then, this kind of helps you out, especially over those first 2 years when you own the home, when you have a lot more expenses, typically like new furniture, new appliances, you're fixing some of the broken things that you found in the house once you move in. So you tend to have a lot more expenses during those first 2 years. So this type of loan product not only is free when the seller pays for it, but it gives you a little bit more wiggle room in your budget every month for different things that you might need for your new home without any cost to you. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is this is not an ARM product that we saw back before the last housing crash, where all of a sudden people's rates jumped from super low to very high and they had no idea what it was going to be. With these type of products, when the lender approves you, they're approving you for the higher payment. You know what that higher payment is going to be, so you know what your monthly payment is every single month of the loan. So you're going to be able to know if you can afford that normal payment when it goes back up to it during that third year, and you can budget accordingly. And obviously, there's never a guarantee that interest rates will go down over the next couple years, although it's highly probable. You never want to bet on it, so you always want to make sure that you can afford that higher payment comfortably. So if it does get to that point and interest rates are higher for some reason, you can still afford that higher payment, and it's not going to make you house poor while your entire budget every single month is going to your mortgage. So again, that's just one type of loan program out there. There's a bunch of them out there that not only help out with interest rates, but also with down payment assistance. So if you're close to thinking you'll be able to buy a home, but you're just not quite there, it's probably worth at least having a discussion with the lender, seeing what programs you might qualify for, because there might actually be a loan program out there that makes sense for you to go ahead and purchase a home right now instead of having to wait for interest rates to drop later when more people enter back in the market and home prices go up even more. Okay, so sellers, I'm going to break this down into two parts. One for sellers that currently have their homes on the market, and the other for sellers that are thinking of selling but don't have their home on the market yet. So let's go ahead and start with the sellers that currently have their home on the market. So like I said before, you only have a few weeks left before demand starts dropping down significantly. So if your home is on the market, it's not getting a lot of traction, not getting a lot of buyers through it, and you're not getting offers, the majority of the reason is because your home is overpriced for the neighborhood and the condition it's in. in. So you need to have a serious conversation with your agent, reevaluate those comps of the surrounding homes in the neighborhood that have sold recently, and figure out a new pricing strategy to try to draw some more interest before we hit Thanksgiving. Now, the unfortunate part for you is even if you drop your price, it's not going to generate anywhere near as much interest as you originally got when you first put it on the market. So you may have to drop your price below market value slightly in order to get the right buyer in the home to be able to place an offer and get it into escrow before the end of the year. Or if you don't want to drop the price of your home because you do think it's priced correctly based on the latest comps and based on your agent's recommendation, then your agent needs to be going in overtime trying to advertise it, getting as many people through that home as possible to be able to try to get an offer before Thanksgiving hits. Because after Thanksgiving, it's going to become extremely difficult to get a good offer on your home, not only because it's been on the market for a longer period of time, which again doesn't generate as much interest, but because there's just not enough demand in the marketplace, and so most buyers have moved on. Now, on the other side of things, if you're thinking of selling a home before the end of the year, then obviously you're going to want to get it on the market as soon as you possibly can, because every week from here on out, demand is going to continue to drop, so you're losing more and more buyers the longer you wait. On top of that, just like I talked about with sellers that currently have their home on the market, for you, the most important thing that you need to do is make sure you price your home correctly. And I say this almost every single month because it is the most important thing for sellers, is to accurately price their home. But to emphasize this point even more and show you some data behind it, this is a graph right up here from Stephen Thomas. He's a local housing economist in Orange County, and he basically comes out with different reports, crunches a bunch of different numbers, and puts out some great information to give you an understanding of what it takes to sell a home on the market. And this graph up here shows you the consequences that you're going to have as a seller if you don't price your home correctly out of the gate the first time. So let's go ahead and break this graph down. So it goes into 3 different sections. So number 1 is how much you can net if you don't have to do any price reductions on your home. Number 2, how much you're going to net if you have to do a 1 to 4% price reduction. And then number 3, how much you're going to net if you have to do a 5% or more price reduction. So you can see on the bottom line right here, if you do no price reduction, which means that you're going through and pricing it correctly, the market has spoken and they're purchasing your house, you're going to get a price that's 100.2% of the asking price for your home. So basically saying that you're going to get the asking price, maybe slightly more if you price it correctly out of the gate. But here's where things get interesting. So let's go ahead and look at the next line up, which is if you have to reduce your price by 1 to 4%. So if you have to reduce your price from 1 to 4% in order to get your home back to fair market value to sell, you're only going to be getting about 97.5% of the last posted price. Not the original price of your home, but the last posted price. So if you had to lower your price by 2%, then you're going to be on average getting 2.5% below that price, which is obviously going to net you a lot less money. And then when you go to 5% or more, you can see things just get worse. If you go to 5% or more of price reduction, it's showing that you're going to get 95% of that actual price. So you're going to get 5% below the last price you had it on the market before it sold, which is a significant hit, especially in Orange County when the average price of a home is well above $1 million right now. 5% is a huge number and a huge amount of money that you're leaving on the table instead of pricing it correctly out of the gate. And you can also see how long it takes to sell is going to go up significantly. So if you price it correctly, on average, it's only taking 8 days to go into escrow. However, if you have to reduce the price from 1 to 4%, it's going to take 43 days on average, and then 5% or more is going to take 63 days or more. So you can see there is a significant difference in not only the amount of money you're going to make if you price it correctly, but the amount of time as well as all the headaches that go along with that of having to show your home, do open houses, make sure it's clean for weeks and weeks and weeks before it sells if you don't price it correctly out of the gate. So I hope this gives you some information to go off of and shows you how important it is to price your home based on the latest comparable sales in your neighborhood, so it's priced correctly out of the gate when you're going to get the most amount of traffic and have the best chance of getting the highest price for your home, which is going to be within the first 2 weeks of your home hitting the market. Are you finding this information about Yorba Linda useful? If so, again, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and follow button because I put out new content every single week, and make sure you follow me on the rest of the social media accounts because I give you updates on what's happening around Yorba Linda through different small businesses. So so that way you don't miss any major events happening within the city. And also, if you can think of anybody that would find this information useful, please consider sharing it as well. I would really appreciate it. So that's all I have for you this week. So until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, and I'll see you on next week's show. Bye, everybody.